If you have not heard, Donald Trump's deportations have begun. There have been video images of deportations in Chicago. They were here in Boston. We're going to get to all of that. But it has begun, ladies and gentlemen, and there's no turning back from here. We're going to talk about what is happening, what the judge has blocked, and we're also going to discuss how we got here to begin with. I think that's important to note, the how and the why. Now, with the birthright citizenship, that has already been blocked. You know, one of the things that Trump wanted to do was to end birthright citizenship. And I think a lot of people lost it over this. So basically, if your parents came here illegally, but they had you, your mom gave birth to you here in the United States, and you're automatically a U.S. citizen because you were born in the U.S., that was one of the first things that he wanted to do. He wanted to end birthright citizenship. But a federal judge has already blocked that. I don't know if everybody saw this here. It says a federal judge temporarily blocks Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. And this is one I tried to warn people about, that this one would face legal ramifications, because in the Constitution, if you're born in the United States, you are a U.S. citizen. So I didn't think this one was going to pass. There's also other issues with this one as well. I was thinking about some of the people that were a part of Trump's cabinet or part of his administration. Like, people were asking questions about Marco Rubio. You know, some people say that his parents came here because they were fleeing Castro, so they were automatically given legal status. There's been back and forth about that. People were asking questions about Vivek Ramaswamy, who, by the way, is no longer a part of Trump's administration. Turns out that H-1B visa comments and the things that he said about American workers didn't go over too well. So he's no longer part of Trump's administration, but I hear he is trying to run for governor of Ohio. But then there's questions about him, because remember, he talked about this on another podcast, which I've shown on this show before, where Vivek said, well, you know, technically, I think it was his dad wasn't here legally. Right. And they were asking him, well, but do you still support ending birthright? And he's like, well, yeah, I still support it. So there is some hypocrisy here where some people are pro ending birthright citizenship, even though they got birthright citizenship. So that's something else to keep in mind. But right now, that is blocked. And I do not see that one getting through. And then there's the ICE raids. Now, this is about to get crazy. OK, so the first video I want to show you here, Fox News reporter witnesses mass deportations taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and dive into this video here.
A Fox News exclusive. This is from Bill Malugin reporting on the ICE raids captured on video out in Boston. Let's show you that. Again, this is Bill Malugin with Fox News in this exclusive.
It's a frigid 5 degrees in the pre-dawn hours just outside of Boston, where this team of elite ICE officers is briefing on their targets for the day.
We're going to be targeting some extremely violent offenders today.
Within moments, the officers are on the move, with eyes on their first target.
Looks like we got movement, target vehicle coming out.
They quickly take him into custody. He's an MS-13 gang member wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder. And he has an Interpol red notice out for his arrest.
We are targeting very violent threats to our community.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Let me pause here for a second, because I know the question that's coming up. If they're telling you that he had 17 convictions, you're probably wondering how come he's not in jail. So one of the issues that I think at least we ran into here in Massachusetts, I can't speak about the other states, but one of the things that has been brought up is that because of the status that they're under, you know, Boston announced itself as a sanctuary city, right? Like Massachusetts announced itself as a sanctuary state. Because of that status that they're under, what was said by Governor Healy is that they would get charged and they would bring them in, but they couldn't detain them because of the status that they're under. So that's part of the issue that we've run into. Governor Maura Healy, by the way, has changed her position on this. A lot of things are changing, you guys. Like Governor Healy, she's the governor. She's the one that, remember they were sending migrants to Martha's Vineyard, and all the rich, liberal white people said, you can't stay here. Yeah, people really showed their true colors, right? The people who said they should not be kicked out of the country, the moment they were brought into their backyard, they didn't want them there, which is ridiculous considering Martha's Vineyard is vacant most of the year. Right? They have the money and the resources. So then the state decided to bring them into lower income Black neighborhoods like Roxbury here in Boston. And that caused issues there because Roxbury is one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city, and they just don't have the resources. Eventually, it got to the point where Maura Healey announced that there were no more emergency shelters available. There was a representative from the State House on the news asking people to open up their doors, to be so kind to open up their doors. So it got to the point where they weren't getting help from the Biden administration. And now Maura Healey has changed her position. Now she is saying that, well, Massachusetts isn't a sanctuary state. Yeah, it's all changing. She also said she's not going to get in the way. People are asking, how is it that they can just come in and the governor has no say so? Maura Healey has responded by saying she will not get in the way of these arrests by ICE. So for people who were wondering.
You feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction. And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with...
Pause. Did everybody hear what they just said? So because of the sanctuary policies, they can't detain them. So that's why they were released. Let's continue.
The new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by a sanctuary jurisdiction, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back into the community, and when we went to go find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
And that is exactly what Border Czar Tom Homan has warned would happen.
When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that are in the United States illegally. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
ICE Boston says they will continue to go into sanctuary jurisdictions and do their job.
Today was a good day. Today we took several significant public safety threats out of our communities. Unfortunately, a lot were released by sanctuary policies, but we're here to tell the Commonwealth and the rest of the country that we're going to find them whether they're released or not.
Right again, Fox News' Bill Melugin.
Okay, so that was Boston. And of course, that's, where I am, right outside of Boston. So one of the things that I did notice, like most of the people are calling them the raids, most of the raids that I've seen, they are arresting people that have charges, right? And so I wanted you to see that video because a number of people have been asking, well, how is it they're not in prison if they have, these criminal charges? And because of under the sanctuary policies, they can't legally detain them. That's why they weren't there. Now, I want to move on as well. We're going to go to what Maura Healey said here, and then we're going to get to Chicago. And you guys know Chicago has been in the news a lot about this particular situation. Just to show you again what Maura Healey said. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey says she won't get in the way of federal immigration officials. So for people who were asking, why isn't the local, government stepping up? She made it very clear. Governor Maura Healey said there is no reason to be concerned about it because Massachusetts is not a so-called sanctuary state. So we were. She's changing on this, but we were. Healey said she does not plan to get in the way of federal immigration officials doing their jobs. However, Healy has expressed concerns about mass deportations and has said that Massachusetts State Police will not assist in those, but will cooperate with criminal enforcement. So there you have it, folks, right? So she's not getting in the way there. Keep telling you it's going down. And now we go to Chicago. Chicago has been one of the big ones. There have been tremendous outcries by, in particular, Black residents in Chicago against Mayor Brandon. I forget Brandon Johnson. I always forget Brandon's last name. But anyway, against Chicago's mayor, because of the way that he, allegedly treated migrants that he allowed to come into Black neighborhoods in Chicago. And Black residents in those neighborhoods said, well, we're asking for resources and you won't give anything to us, but you're giving them housing, you're giving them debit cards, etc. So no, like I told you guys before, if you're going to do for one, you do for all, right? Like everybody has the right to housing, in my opinion. Everybody should have housing. Everybody should be able to feed their families, etc. So the raids also have started in Chicago, and Brandon is doubling down. Let's get in.
Garrett Tenney is live for us in Chicago. Garrett.
Yeah, Harris, those proposed changes would have allowed Chicago police to work with ICE only in cases involving a violent criminal, which is the kind of people state and local officials claim they don't want to be here. Instead, progressives on the city council have spent the past week preparing to fight this expected ICE operation by canvassing Latino neighborhoods to pass out these flyers, telling folks to not open their doors and to remain silent if ICE agents show up looking for any convicted criminals.
Talking to people, the fear is palpable. The fear is vocalized. People in the streets are saying that they're scared that ICE agents will show up at their doorsteps, at their workplaces, at their places of worship or places of going to school. They're scared of that. That is a problem.
Governor J.B. Pritzker could push for changes in the state sanctuary policies to allow Illinois police to cooperate in some limited way. But he hasn't given any indication that that is something he is even considering, despite repeatedly saying criminal illegal migrants should be arrested and removed.
If there are violent criminals who have been convicted of violent crimes, who are undocumented, they are supposed to be deported. That is the law of the United States and has been for quite a long time. I don't want them in my state. I don't want them in the country. If you're going to commit crimes and you're undocumented, you don't deserve to stay in this country.
The sad irony here is that by
pause here, though, but I think what's misleading about this is that, again, this is coming from Fox, so you got to take that into consideration. What's misleading is that they're not just arresting those that have criminal charges. Like, they started there, but as you heard, even with the Boston raids, they said there was another guy that they arrested who doesn't have criminal charges, but he was staying in the same apartment as one of the guys that did, and so he was basically, they got him by getting the other guy. Basically, to make a long story short, someone just mentioned that ICE was coming to school. I didn't even know that they were allowed to go to schools. So this is new to me, but yeah.
Not helping to remove those folks. Democrats here say that the folks they are trying to protect, those law-abiding individuals who are here illegally, by not cooperating with ICE, more of those very individuals are inevitably going to get picked up by ICE while agents are trying to track down those who are the most dangerous. One example, Harris, during an ICE operation in Chicago back in 2018, agents arrested 156 migrants. Of those, only 74 had criminal convictions. The other half were folks who just got caught up and were collateral arrest. Tom Home and others are warning we are almost certainly going to see a lot more of that because of these sanctuary policies. Harris?
And just so I'm clear, I mean, if they came here illegally, they already committed a crime. They broke our laws of sovereignty. So there's 156. Yes, 74 had committed crimes either in their former countries or in this one. But the balance of that was, from what you're saying, and that's what I want to get straight, they were here illegally anyway.
Right. But this is what I want to point out to you about the difference here between, the narrative that Fox pushes and the narrative that CNN and MSNBC pushes, right? Because if you turn on to CNN and MSNBC, they have sympathy for the people that are being deported. If you turn on Fox News, they don't have sympathy for the people that are being deported. But what she was just saying there, I mean, people came here, crossed the border illegally when Trump was president too. It's like this has always been a thing. This isn't new. So people do have to understand the border crossings didn't just start under Biden and Harris. Now, there were some numbers that I think their numbers have increased compared to what I saw before, but it didn't start there. And this goes back to partisan politics, because I remember Barack Obama deporting a lot of people. And I don't remember seeing people who were Democrats that supported Barack Obama criticizing Barack Obama under his deportations. Now, after the fact, after his presidency, I do remember a amount of younger people that were like saying, whoa, we just found out Barack Obama deported all these people. But at that point, it was too late, right? Barack Obama had already served his 2 terms. But this just goes to show you again, the partisan politics, because if you're really upset about people crossing the border illegally, then it shouldn't matter who the president is. It shouldn't matter if it's a Republican in the White House or a Democrat. You would be mad across the board. That's the way I see it. And if you're outraged that people are being deported, then you should have also been outraged when Obama and Biden deported all those people. You should have also been outraged when Obama made those cages, the cages that the kids were put in under Trump. You should have been upset under both, is the point that I'm trying to get across. But people are so caught up in like their partisan politics. It's like, they don't get it, right?
Here illegally, not violent criminals, though. And that's what the administration is focusing on in this initial set of operations.
All right. That's helpful. Garrett, thank you. Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst. Gianno, look, I made a fine point of this because it matters. The last administration was trying to legalize coming across our border in many illegal ways. Whether you crawled in, you went around the security checkpoints, they just wanted, okay, well, if you got here, you're safe. That's not how it works. That's not sovereignty. That's an open door. So picking up these people along with the violent criminals, what would you rather not do? Just not pick up anybody? That's what they wanted.
Exactly right.
Today is different.
Exactly
Trump's in
right.
office.
100%. And Governor J.B. Pritzker is speaking out of both sides of his mouth, saying he doesn't want violent criminals there. But yet people, as you mentioned, they broke the law and they came over here. It's the exact same thing. You committed a crime by entering the United States of America, and it has cost us in blood and treasure. Blood by the 100,000 plus people who've overdosed on a drug. And we've seen that in recent years since Biden has taken office, and treasure with the billions of dollars of resources that are being usurped from the people of Illinois and the people of the city of Chicago, New York, and all across the country. It must come to an end. And thank God this day has come with Donald Trump in office to get the country back on its feet.
Well, look, you knew that.
Okay, so what they don't mention to you, which I think is important, is that they don't get into the why and the how. If you look at the countries, most of the countries where people are coming from, these are the countries that the U.S. government has destabilized. These are the countries that the U.S. government has demolished. Venezuela, Haiti. And Haiti, by the way, everybody wants to mention France. Yes, France also had their part in, trying to not just slave trade, but don't forget that Haiti had to pay reparations to France. So there's the France part, but then there's the U.S. government part. There's Woodrow Wilson. There's Bill Clinton. People have to remember that Woodrow Wilson, he sent in the U.S. Marines into Haiti. He seized their banks, their businesses, all of these things. This goes way back, because Haiti has a lot of resources. So people will point to a country like Haiti and they'll say, oh my God, Haiti is so poor. Not in resources, it's not. And when you point to these countries and you ask yourself, how did it become so poor? You say it's so poor. It's important that you understand how. So we've had a hand in a lot of this. It's the countries that we've destroyed. Look at where they're coming from. They're not coming from Germany. They're not coming from France. Look at where they're coming from. We destroyed Venezuela. We still are destroying Venezuela. People are complaining about people from Venezuela crossing over, but I don't hear nobody complaining about the U.S. government continuing to put sanctions on Venezuela, overthrowing their leaders, etc. And then it's the type of person that they want, right? Because they have no problem allowing refuge to those coming from Ukraine, from those coming to Belarus. It's a certain type of person that they have no problem extending that to, for certain people. Now, Chris Cuomo dives into this as well. Now, this is Tom Homan, who is a part of all of this. He's the border czar. Listen to this.
What is that looking like in real time? Let's discuss with the White House border czar, Tom Homan. Congratulations on beginning the actual work, and thank you for joining me as promised.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Tom, let's look at it two ways. One group looks at what you're doing and says, yeah, this is what ICE always does. His guys rounded up 370 people or so. During the Biden administration, they rounded up 300 something a day. This isn't really that different. How is it different?
Well, look, the arrests are a lot higher than were the Biden administration. And we're out there. We just started this nationwide operation. And right now, in the first couple of days, we're at over 3,000 criminals arrested. And that's a significant impact on public safety. The thing we're doing different from the Biden administration is we're not holding ICE to a lower standard. Under the Mayorkas memorandum, ICE wasn't able to arrest all the public safety threats in the country. Like you said earlier, they had to be convicted of a serious crime. There's nothing in the Immigration and Nationality Act that says you got to be convicted of a crime if you're here illegally to be removed. You can be removed simply for being illegally. So we've told ICE to concentrate out of the gate. As I told you in the last show, our focus is on arresting public safety threats and national security threats. That's exactly what we're doing now.
So if the numbers that they just showed, if that's true, if those numbers aren't that different, then where is the outrage coming from? Does everybody see what just happened there? Chris Cuomo just showed you the numbers. He said these numbers aren't that different from what happened under the Biden administration. Then where is the outrage coming from? It makes you wonder if part of this, well, the media, of course, if the media has just been duping people all along. If those numbers, I'm gonna have to go check those numbers myself. But if he's right that those numbers are the same, then it makes you wonder.
Let me ask you about that. The concern of the Democrats is you're going to round up dreamers and you're going to round up people who have done penny ante offenses, who are otherwise contributing here, and that's too harsh.
Well, look, the number of collateral arrests are going to be higher during this operation for one reason and one reason only, because we're not allowed to arrest the criminal alien inside of a jail in sanctuary cities like New York and Chicago and LA and Portland. And, the majors, the target-rich environments where a lot of illegal aliens domicile, they're not letting us in the county jail because of sanctuary laws. If we could arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, which is safer for the officers, safer for the aliens, safer for the community, then there'd be a lot less of those type, like you just said, low-level offenders. There'd be a lot less of them arrested. But when you force us in the community, we're going to find that guy sooner or later. It takes more time and it's less efficient than getting him in a county jail. But when we find him, he's most likely being with others. And if they're in the United States illegally, they're going to be arrested too, because we're not going to do what the Biden administration said. We're not going to say ICE can't, because the Biden administration, here's your instructions to ICE. Being in the country illegally on his own is not enough for you to effect an arrest. Ignore the law, ignore the oath you took. You need to have a serious crime. There's nothing in the law that says it, so they're going to force us in neighborhoods, and we're not going to tell ICE to turn a blind eye to an illegal alien. They're going to come too. So the sanctuary city is going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the neighborhoods and more collateral arrests while we're doing this criminal operation.
He almost talks like there's something in his mouth. I don't know, that maybe that was just me. I don't know.
Why can't the president, let alone the federal government, has such sweeping, if not complete, or as they say in the law, plenary authority when it comes to immigration? Why are states and municipalities able to keep federal agents out in so-called sanctuary cities?
Well, look, they'll be taking the court real soon. They've already been warned that federal law overrides any local jurisdiction law. So this is going to be played out in the courts because, they got to understand. I said, I don't know if I said it in your last show or not. I'm amazed every day when I wake up that there's an elected mayor or elected governor or elected city councilman that doesn't want public safety threats removed from their community. They should be working hand in hand with them. Like when I had my discussions with Mayor Adams in New York, he made it clear, he'll help me with the criminals, but he doesn't want to be an immigration officer. I don't want to be an immigration officer. I want to be a cop working with cops and help protect this community. When it comes to immigration enforcement and the non-criminals, leave that up to me. That's my job and that's ICE's job. But public servants, people elected by the people, politicians elected by the people, their number one responsibility is protection of the communities. So I just don't understand, why not let us in tax-funded jail to arrest the bad guy that you already cited to lock him in a jail cell for obvious reasons? Well, when you're done with him, give him to us rather than release him back into the community, because where's he going to reoffend? In the very community he lives, the immigrant community. So it puts the immigrant community at greater risk of crime. And I swear to you, if anybody went to an immigrant community and had a town hall and asked them a simple question, would you rather have ICE operating in your community or the jail? They'd all say jail, because immigrant communities, even though they're here illegally, after they get here, they're God-fearing family people. They don't want a predator in their neighborhoods either. So let's work together and get the criminals in the safety and security of the jail. It makes sense.
Okay, honey, I hope you do something with the speech. I don't know what's going on with this. He sound a little tongue-tied. So first, I want to show you what could happen if all of this goes as planned, right? And I showed this the other night as well, but just for those who may have missed it. If everything goes as planned, which means it's not just those who are, have charges, but it's also the dreamers that are also deported. If that birthright citizenship, for whatever reason, makes it to the Supreme Court and they push it through, I want to show you what the big problem that we're going to have. The problem that we're going to run into is the food, right? So listen to what this farmer said here from South Dakota, who, by the way, voted for Donald Trump and still supports Donald Trump. Listen to this.
What percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
How many hours does this go on?
It's 24 hours a day. We could milk 8 hours a day, but it wouldn't be feasible or profitable for us to produce milk.
So you need workers like this year-round?
Yes.
Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, her farm is just a few miles away. This farmer who voted for her, who voted for Trump, who still supports them, doesn't believe that they would round up immigrants and ask them for their immigration status, because it's an open secret that farms in this state are held up by undocumented workers. Are you worried, like some of your other farmers, that if there were a mass roundup of undocumented migrants, that you might lose workers? You might not have enough workers.
Well, the question I asked, how are they going to do that? Within 2 days, we will not have food. There will not be food anywhere.
2 days?
Yes. That's why I predict nobody will be filling the shelves, nobody will be producing food. If we once have to shut down and be gone, it's never coming back.
Does Governor Noem understand that?
I would think so.
You have a lot of faith that they're not going to do what they're saying.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking. So we have to trust in our officials that are put in place.
So he doesn't think that it's going to happen, but the food issue is very real. And people continue to say, well, they can hire Americans for those jobs. The reality is, if he would have to pay them at least a minimum wage, and I would assume he's not paying, those other workers the $7.25 an hour. That's why he hired them, because he can pay them less. And then you're also talking about benefits and everything else that comes with that as well. So I'm willing to guess they probably don't have full-time benefits, like just those types of things. They may not have health care. They may not have all those things, right? So this is what's been happening with agriculture. That would also mean that food prices would increase. If we have less food, obviously the food prices are going to increase. So that's a very real reality. I mean, like, people need to talk about that. If all that stuff goes through, there's nothing in place designed to deal with that. But I think it's also important to ask, how do we get here? How do we get here? A lot of times when I do the how do we get there, it always goes back to either Ronald Reagan policies Bill Clinton policies. I think we just got to LBJ a couple of weeks ago, LBJ policies. But a lot of times we get right back to this oldie but goodie, Barack Obama. Rotimi says the fact that Democrats have departed from this immigration message and now it's just something else that makes no sense is ridiculous to me. And it's allowed Republicans to radicalize the country into mass deportations. We just need common sense back. I just want to remind you what Barack Obama said about immigration.
This is not going to be a free ride. It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. But after you've done these things over a certain period of time, you can earn your citizenship. So that it's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it. But over time, you give people an opportunity. Now,
Brain Power said, oh, he was so cute back then.
It only works, though, if you do all the pieces. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration. But they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. So we've got to deal with that at the same time as we deal in a humane fashion with folks who have put down roots here, have become our neighbors, have become our friends. They may have children who are U.S. citizens. That's the kind of comprehensive approach that we have to take.
So sorry, the volume for that video is kind of low, but did you hear what Barack Obama said? He said, okay, but here are the things that you have to do. He said, you're going to have to learn English. You're not going to get a free ride. You're going to have to work hard. You can't cut in front of other people in the line. Problem is, Barack Obama didn't do any of those things. The Democratic Party didn't follow up on that. They didn't actually apply those things that he just told you. And so because that wasn't done, now what you have was someone like Donald Trump who was able to radicalize people to get them to say, let's get everybody out of here. Just get everybody out. But if this would have been done, think about that. You know, I don't think there was anything wrong with what Barack Obama said there. The popularity of deportations has changed over time. And I think people need to see this. Let me put this here up on the screen. Here you go. Watch this.
Deport all immigrants here illegally. I will note the ABC News poll asked about undocumented immigrants. So we have slightly different questions, but these were all taken within the last month. And there's real uniformity here. That's what I really think you see. You see real uniformity. Deport all immigrants who are here illegally. 55% of the New York Times. Marquette, 64%. CBS News, 57%. ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing.
These are left-leaning outlets, by the way. Left-leaning.
Essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally. There's no arguing with these different numbers because they're all essentially the same across 4 different pollsters.
So if they say yes today-ish, how has that changed over time?
Yeah, this is where I think you get very interesting. And so we'll take a look at that ABC News question in particular, because you can really see that there's been a massive shift from when Trump was first getting into office 8 years ago, right? Deport all undocumented immigrants. You go back to 2015, I'm going to come to your side of the screen, it was 42%. Hello. Go to 2016, it was 36%. Look at where we are now. This was taken at the end of last year, 56%.
Deport all undocumented immigrants among adults across the board. Again, these are not just Republicans. Across the board, this is increased. The agreement to deport undocumented immigrants has increased since the end of Barack Obama's term. This is what I was trying to tell people. Some of the issues that we have today politically They go back to Obama. They go back to Ronald Reagan policies. They go back to Bill Clinton policies. They go back to those policies, the neoliberalism policies, the George W. Bush, policies that got us where we are right now. So if Barack Obama would have done what he said he was supposed to do in that video that I showed you, the approval for this probably would have been lower than where it is now. But Obama didn't do that. Now, why didn't they do it? They didn't do it because the billionaire class doesn't want that. Barack Obama didn't follow that because he was a Wall Street puppet. And Wall Street wants cheap labor. Billionaires want cheap labor. That's what this is really all about, folks. They want people who are going to come into the U.S. and do the work for less. Sorry, had to cough. So this is what it really comes down to. Once again, something that wasn't done.
This is 20 points higher than it was just before Trump got into office the first time. So feelings towards immigration in this country, feelings towards undocumented immigrants and deporting all of them have become considerably more hawkish. And I think that gives Donald Trump much more leverage to go with the American people and sort of have these hawkish, some might say harsh, different rhetoric and also issue-based sort of going after immigrants who are here illegally. And so I think the American people are going to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt to do what he wants to do, at least if you believe these blunt questions, including this one.
So this is why someone like Donald Trump can come in with harsh rhetoric and say, well, we're going to get rid of the dreamers too. This is why he's able to say that and still have that higher, that's more than half approval rating there, because Barack Obama did not do those things that he said that he was going to do. He didn't implement those things. This is why. So what happens is, again, people get frustrated and they turn all the way to the other side. We've seen it happen over and over again. But at the end of the day, we have to talk about who does it really benefit, because it doesn't benefit us. It benefits the billionaire class. That's who it benefits. You're talking about these wealthy corporations like these people. Elon Musk benefits from cheap labor. Hell, he doesn't even want Tesla employees. He won't even let them unionize. Give me a break. This is what happens in a capitalist system, you guys. In a capitalist system, there will always be the need for, of course, competition. And in that need for competition with free market, that brings about, how can I save money? How can I make money? And the way that a lot of these businesses try to save money is by getting cheap labor. So that way, the guy at the top makes more money. Our country has been doing this for years. But we've increased billionaires. These are crazy times, guys. Crazy times. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.